Hello everyone, and I would like to welcome you to my new course which is Learning ASP.NET Core Step by Step. My name is Maruti Makwana, and by profession I'm actually Microsoft Certified Trainer. I do training on different Microsoft technologies including C#, .NET, .NET Core Framework, as well as number of things in Microsoft Cloud, which is Microsoft Azure. This is my profile, and up to this day I have given training in all these organizations as a corporate trainer. By profession, I'm strictly providing training to corporate employees, and I have given training in number of Microsoft technologies as well as some non-Microsoft technologies also, like Angular, React JS and all that. Right now, in this particular course, we are going to focus about ASP.NET Core. Now before starting this course, I would like to ask that if you guys have questions in your mind like, what is ASP.NET Core? Now I'm assuming that maybe my target audience for this particular course are actually having some basic idea about C# programming language. You may be a developer who has worked on .NET framework, maybe starting from 2.0 to any particular version up to 4.6. And I'm assuming that you are aware with all the C# concepts like object-oriented programming concepts and all. Now as per the trend, if you want to upgrade yourself to ASP.NET Core and you have a question that what is ASP.NET Core framework and how you can learn that and how it is different than the normal .NET framework, then this course is perfect for you. Same way, I'm sure there are certain questions like how it is different from ASP.NET framework. Now ASP.NET framework is there in the market from couple of years, while ASP.NET Core is comparatively very new. Now this new framework is actually having number of new features, and above all it is actually open source. That's again one of the reasons which is making it different, and code wise there are a couple of other things which are different in this particular framework. So that's what we are going to figure out in this course. And the third and the important question is how to create a business application in ASP.NET Core. Now I am assuming that like most of my corporate clients, you guys are developers and you are developing a business applications in .NET framework or ASP.NET Core, and you want to learn and explore ASP.NET Core in such a way that after this course you should be able to understand ASP.NET Core code as well as you are able to write a code inside this ASP.NET Core framework. And that's what the goal of this particular course. So keeping these three questions in mind, we are moving ahead with this. If you have a question what is ASP.NET Core, the official definition of this particular framework is like this, that ASP.NET Core is an open source and cloud optimized web framework for developing modern web applications that can be developed and run on Windows, Linux and the Mac. Now in short, this definition is telling me a couple of important words with that. And it also includes the MVC framework, which now combines the feature of MVC and Web API into a single web programming framework. Now this is the official definition which is given by Microsoft for ASP.NET Core framework. Now right now, to understand this definition itself, I want to highlight a few words in this. Like if you check the next screen, this is the same definition, but I have just highlighted few words like first word is open source. Now that's one of the reason people choose this framework, because this is open source. It's also telling me that we are able to develop applications which can run on Windows, Linux as well as Mac. Now it means this one is something which is providing me platform independency. I know the people who are familiar with .NET framework, they are going to ask me a question that even .NET framework provide a platform independency. I know that's possible in that, but in this case this is going to create one particular package which can run on any operating system without any changes, and we just need an open source framework which is ASP.NET Core to run that. I hope that you are familiar with MVC architecture, which was there from so many years in .NET framework. The same architecture is also there in ASP.NET Core, but there are a couple of things which are changed now. The version of MVC which is associated with ASP.NET Core is MVC 6. And just for your kind information, MVC 6 is only supported with ASP.NET Core framework, not with the actual full framework which is .NET framework. In .NET framework, we were having MVC version starting from 1.0 to 5.0, but 6.0 is only associated with ASP.NET Core, and that is also giving one strong reason to learn ASP.NET Core with MVC 6. We are also going to cover some part of Web API and all this thing in this particular course, and we are going to see that how we can write a business application in this particular framework. Now, there is one point which I want to add in this, that ASP.NET Core apps can run on .NET Core as well as on a full .NET framework also. It means if you have developed any .NET Core application which is built for open source development, and if you want to run in one particular machine where a full .NET framework is already installed, then obviously the full .NET framework is a higher entity. It's having all the libraries and all the resources which are available in full framework. Then you can run this .NET Core application even on a .NET framework, which is a full .NET framework version. Now, it was architectured to provide an optimized development framework for apps that are deployed to the cloud and runs on premises. Now, this is something also which is one of the advantage of ASP.NET Core apps, that these apps are cloud optimized. It means if I want to deploy these applications on my Microsoft Azure cloud as well as any other cloud provider, then I don't need to change anything in my application code, and it can still run and utilize all the resources which are provided by cloud platform. We can even host this thing on on-premise servers, or we can even deal with the self-hosted environment. Now, all these things are advantages of ASP.NET Core, or I can say these are the reasons why most people are moving towards ASP.NET Core. Adding into the same discussion, I want to add one word which is known as dependency injection. I hope you guys have heard dependency injection in your past. If you worked with Java or C# or VB, in all these languages, we do dependency injection to make our code loosely coupled. And we are going to write our application code in such a way that if one particular part of the code is going to get changed, it's not going to affect the other parts. And that's where it's really going to be easier for us to maintain this code. In ASP.NET Core, we have a built-in support for dependency injection. And that's why it is totally following the principle of dependency inversion principle. And if you want to use this application code, you have to use dependency injection with inversion of control in that. If you're not familiar with this particular terms, I have one of my other course which is dealing with solid principles and design patterns of C#. I request you to go through that particular course to understand dependency injection and inversion of control in depth. We have something which is known as tag helpers, which are going to help us in creating a Razor UI. Now, in this case, I hope if somebody is familiar with MVC, then they have heard about this word Razor View Engine. Now, similar kind of Razor View is also there with ASP.NET Core. But the point is, the terms which we have used in older versions of MVC are now changed. There was something like HTML helpers, which were nothing but some functions in past which were helping me to create a UI of Razor View. In this case, in ASP.NET Core, we have something like tag helpers. These are nothing but some customized tag provided by ASP.NET Core MVC, and these tag helpers are going to help you to generate your Razor View based UI. We'll see this thing in action when we are going to write a code, but I'm just going to introduce this right now so that you can remember and you can keep this thing in the mind when I'm going to deal with the Razor View. Now, at the end, last but not the least, we have all these benefits of this particular ASP.NET Core application, and the benefits of a smaller app surface area includes the three things. First, tighter security. The second thing is it's going to give me a reduced servicing as well as the improved performance in that, and it's going to give me the decreased cost in terms of development as well as in maintenance also. Now, these are the three major features which every developer, every organization is looking for. We want our application should be very, very secure. It should be performance wise very good so that we can compete in the market, as well as we do not want to waste our money in the nonsense cost and in the maintenance of the application. And in this case, ASP.NET Core applications are the one which are providing all three advantages at one place. This is maybe one of the reasons most people are choosing ASP.NET Core and MVC 6 with this particular application right now. If you check the screen, I have an architecture of ASP.NET Core framework. And as you can see here, we have a .NET Framework 4.6 at the right side, which is actually using a .NET CLR. I hope you have heard about this term. It's a common language runtime, which is actually doing A to Z of everything which is required when we are doing development using .NET Framework. Same way, the same kind of purpose is solved by Core CLR, which is a part of .NET Core. And this is something which I want to highlight right now, that .NET Framework and .NET Core Framework, these two are different, and that's why even the CLR of both the framework are different. Just keep this thing in your mind that .NET Core is a total rewrite of a new kind of .NET Framework. And this is not directly connected with .NET Framework at all. All the libraries, all the resources, and even the CLR which you're going to use in .NET Core is going to be different than the normal .NET Framework. And that's why at a couple of points you have to be careful while using .NET Core applications. Based on this .NET Core and Core CLR, we have ASP.NET Core, which widely used by most of the people when they are developing web applications, in which they can use MVC version 6 and even they can use Entity Framework, but not the full Entity Framework version like 5.0 or 6.0 which were there earlier. We have an Entity Framework Core, which is specially a lightweight version of Entity Framework, and it's made for ASP.NET Core. In this course, we are going to see all these things in action. So let's now jump into the code and let's move ahead with the .NET Core development. Thank you.